Hi, Pat the Podcast Editor here. What can the entrepreneur's operating system do for your business? Well, today, Anchors, we'll be discussing a book that's a proven game changer for anyone looking to upgrade the operating system within their business.
This is called What the Heck is EOS? And let me just find the page that has the different sections.
We'll look at how regular, structured meetings can have a profound effect on the productivity and effectiveness of your team.
A lot of this stuff seems so simple. You think, well, why wouldn't you be doing that sort of stuff? But
It's just more structure, isn't it?
yeah,
And you know what? Dan and Lloyd love the book so much, they're giving away 2 copies to 2 lucky listeners. Stay tuned to find out how you can get hold of your free copy. Right, let's get stuck in. This is episode 72 of the Business Anchors podcast.
What on earth is the entrepreneur's operating system, and who will gain value from listening to this episode, Lloyd?
well, what I do know is this is going to be a high-energy episode because it's a drier subject, so we're going to keep the energy higher, like you asked me to before we started recording.
Yeah, okay, that's maybe a bit too much, Lloyd.
Was that too obvious?
Yeah, but we do, with these dry episodes...
Dry. We shouldn't say dry.
Not dry, but,
yeah,
more practical,
not as wet as the others.
operational episodes. We need to make them more
Yeah.
interesting.
Value incoming. Not as many jokes, though. We might, I don't know. Maybe we will be.
Maybe
hilarious.
there will be. So tell me, what on earth... give me the background. What am I going on about? Entrepreneur's operating
Yeah,
system,
that's a good
Lloyd.
point. Because if you haven't heard of this, it makes no sense at all. And if I'm honest, I don't think we're experts at this yet.
No.
but this is something new we're beginning to work on in the business. Already seeing very good signs of how it's going to help us in the future. But I want to make it clear. I have a feeling we're going to have another episode in like 6 months to a year's time where we've implemented loads of the stuff that it
Yeah.
involves, and we kind of.
So this
let
is
you know.
like
But
version 1.
Let us introduce you to the entrepreneur's operating system.
Speaking to the mic.
I am speaking into the mic.
I'm watching your lips away from the mic.
Okay.
Sorry, go on.
So, it is an operating system. So on your
Is that what level we're at?
on your computer, you've got an operating system. So you've got like Windows, or you might not if you're a cool Mac person. And that basically makes everything in the computer work together so that you can use it. The way I think about it is, and probably a stupid way, but this is how my brain works.
Yeah.
So our business is obviously very much based on people.
Yeah.
And so there are, like, all of us, our team, are our resources that allow us to bring money into the business and provide value for our clients. And this operating system kind of structures the way all of us work together and how we work in order to get the most out of it and make sure we're all having a good time and
Delivering
being
what we
really
need
good.
to.
That's kind of a really simple,
I
stupid
like that, though.
sounding-
That's a good kind of analogy. I like
Yeah.
that.
So yeah, it helps us, and we've got such a long way to go. I think we've probably implemented like 3% of what you can. So we're just.
But it's had a
starting.
positive impact already.
But I can already see it having a positive impact, and some of it is challenging because when things change, it can kind of be hard at first, but then you're like, oh, I can see how this is going to really improve things.
We did an episode on change ages ago, which is interesting. Try and look that one up.
Yeah, I will.
And how
Thank
to
you,
deal with
Dan.
change, yeah.
I will listen to that so
No,
I
you
know
won't.
how to deal with it. I think honestly, we kind of took it on because partly, to be completely honest, we're being ambitious and thinking, oh, we need to improve. But I'd say partly it was because we're as the business has grown from 5 years ago, me and Dan in a spare bedroom, to now where there's 11 people and also other freelancers we work with, this bigger team of people. We were doing some things badly, and a lot of the time, some of our team were chasing their tails because we're not working as efficiently and as
And that's down
effectively
to
as we
us
can together.
to lead that.
Exactly. So a big part of it is actually we need to improve the way we work together and all that sort of thing. So
And also a shout out to Luke and Ant from Sleeping Giant Media. I remember going to an event, this was pre-COVID, this was like years ago, going to an event where they presented how they were using this system, and that was the first time I kind of heard of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks to them for suggesting that.
Thank you, Luke and Ant from Sleeping Giant Media. Yeah.
So can you try and give some more background and some practical examples of what does this operating system involve and what does it actually do for people who are like, what on earth is this?
Yeah, okay. So I guess I'm going to speak about the bits that we've started to implement. So like I said, there are huge amounts that either I don't even know about yet or haven't implemented in the business.
One more thing just before that.
Yeah.
Sorry. Who is this useful for? I think this is another important thing we didn't answer.
Yeah.
Who is this going to be useful for? And then we'll get into that.
Either you are a business that has over 3 or 4 people and working together and trying to work effectively. It might be your business. Or actually, I think if you're an employee in a business and potentially have some kind of management role where you have some kind of influence over how people work
or you aspire
together.
to be in a management role.
Yeah. And or you have part of your role as an employee of how you structure processes and the way you do things, how you drive the business forward. I think that's who it's for.
Cool.
I think also useful if you're just an individual and you aspire to one day have a business or have a role where you're in control of those sort of things.
So, what is it?
I'm not going to tell you what it is because I don't know. No, I'm going to speak a bit about what we've implemented so far. So what we've implemented so far are mainly around the people sections and kind of visions for the business. There's lots of other sections of the operating system that we're yet to explore in great detail. But one thing that I think we've only had 3 of these weekly meetings.
Right.
Sounds stupid. Just, a meeting. But I will let you know why it's been so good. But we've implemented the weekly meetings that that the operating system says you should do in a very structured way, and it's already having positive effects. So, firstly, one reason to introduce these weekly meetings, which I thought was really interesting, is something that it calls the weekly pulse.
Oh.
So a lot of the time, and we were doing this previously, we have a bit of a monthly kind of planning meeting rather than a weekly kind of thing. So what a monthly planning meeting kind of does is it gives your business this pulse 12 times a year. After that meeting, you have this big peak in activity. So we've discussed all this good stuff. The few days after that, there's this big peak. So it kind of up like that, and then it will go down gradually. And then the next monthly meeting. So it looks like a pulse.
Okay,
like
yeah.
Boom,
Yeah.
You get what I mean? The idea of having a weekly meeting to discuss these things is that you have 52 opportunities for those peaks. So it kind of, rather than there being big peaks of like, we need to do all this great stuff, and then you gradually forget it through the month.
Makes sense.
It's a constant reminder. Well, not
do
constant,
good stuff.
weekly,
Do good stuff.
to keep you on track and the business on track, individuals on track, which gives you a better opportunity for success.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Another important thing is not to get into the thing that a lot of businesses do, just constantly have meetings and never do anything.
Yeah.
So an important thing for this weekly meeting that they lay out in the entrepreneur's operating system is that there's specific timings and you have to stick to it. Otherwise, we'll all be in meetings for the rest of our lives. So it's very structured. I'm not going to go into all of the details, but so, for example, near the start, we just go through a list of all of our clients, and we now have an individual who is responsible for that client in every case, and we say if we're on track or off track. So simply going down the list, and they
based
say
on an objective that we're trying to.
No commentary, so no, and we're still trying to get good at this because it's tempting to say more stuff. But you're either saying it's on track, and it's like, then we can all know in the business that person's responsible for that client, and they're saying we're where we need to be, or off track, and then basically that gets dropped down to another section of the meeting where we can discuss what's
issues.
going on.
Is it issue section?
Identify, it's identify, discuss, and something beginning with S.
Solve?
That section. Solve, possibly. Yes, I think that makes sense. So that's just it seems, a lot of this stuff seems so simple. You think, well, why wouldn't you be doing that sort of stuff? But
it's just more structure, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the structure. So we used to have ad hoc conversations. Oh, is that thing for this client? Okay. Well, now actually, 8 days ago, they said this, and so we're not sure about this. Whereas this is, we're off track. So we had a deadline for that client
What's
to do
the
this
issue?
thing. It looks like we're not going to hit it. So we're going to discuss that. And a really important thing for us that in our business we were missing is understanding who is accountable for the different things and the different actions. So when we then go into the section where we discuss, oh, right, so this client, we've got this thing we need to work out because it looks like we're not going to be able to do this. Okay, right. These are the actions we've decided we're going to take. These are the exact people who are responsible for that. And we have a list that gets a to-do list, and that gets written down, sent out to everyone. And it's very clear, right, Dan, you, for next week's meeting, have said you're going to do this. And you come to the next meeting and it's checked. Oh, Dan, did you do that? Yes or no?
I remember this is something that tripped us up in the early days. A few things you and I weren't sure who was responsible for, and they'd never got done, and we mucked up a few times. So this is just one of the ways that you ensure whoever's accountable knows, and then it's monitored on a weekly basis to ensure they're doing what they said they're going to do.
Exactly. And I think a lot of this was no fault of our team that things weren't getting done in this scenario. It was that there was a lot of grey area of, oh, well, is that him or her that should have done that? Am I responsible, or is that this guy? And obviously this just says, right, these actions need to be taken in the next week, and these are exactly who's taken it, and we've all agreed, and that person has agreed that they're going to do that. I think
that's like a meeting section then. Is that to do with people, that section that you're talking about?
Yes, that's a people section. That's kind of our biggest change we've implemented with these meetings every week. And I think something that I struggle with because I don't like conflict and don't like awkwardness. I think what that does when you make it very clear what certain people need to do is when you come back to that meeting, it's very clear who's doing what they say they're going to do and working well as part of the team, and who isn't. And I think that's going to be really good and great for the future is a lot of previous jobs I've had, this has been a major thing where some people work really hard and do brilliantly and are constantly picking up the slack for other people. And so they're having a bad time but doing a good job. And other people may need to improve, but it's not kind of picked up, and the support isn't given to them to improve because you don't notice. Whereas each week, if you're
this gives everyone the opportunity to then improve, and
if there's someone in the room that every week they're coming back, they do exactly what they said, and there's just every week's perfect. That right, that's someone that's really working hard and performing very highly, and we need to make sure they're rewarded for the value they're giving, or the other side, this person consistently isn't doing that. So, firstly, have we given them the amount of support they need to do that? If we have, and we've given them opportunities, okay, what's the next step we need to take to kind of work out what's going on here? So I think for a team, that's a really positive thing in the long term. Like I said, I think hard in the short term of that wake-up call of like, oh, actually, there's some people here that aren't doing these things and some people are.
It's interesting because when we started and hired people, we had no processes at all.
No.
Nothing.
No.
And it was just like, do this thing, please. Yeah. And so this.
And I think when things are going well, you can get away with it. And it's kind of, maybe you're working at like 65% efficiency because you haven't got these processes in place, but it's okay. But I think in tougher times, you can't work at 65%. It's like, oh shit, we all need to be working the best we possibly can for this team to deliver what we need to deliver. I think it's really, like I said, in the short term, tough, and we've all got to get used to these new processes, and we've all got to.
But overall, for the business, it's going to be
adapt how we're doing things. But overall, I think really positive step. So. That's the people kind of section and the biggest part that we've implemented so far.
What was the other? You mentioned the other like vision section.
So I've got the book here. Well, one of the books. So there's lots of books about.
I've actually read half of this
operating system. This is called "What the Heck is EOS?" And let me just find the page that has the different sections. Right, here we go. So. Like we've just been saying, almost everything we've been speaking about is the people section there. So there's also vision, data, process, traction, and issues. So we want to implement a lot of this stuff. Like I'm saying, we've done just a very small part, and mainly around people, and a bit around vision, a bit around process.
So what advice would you give someone who's listening to this thinking, I fit the category of person who's managing people or potentially wants to in the future? What should I do to start, Lloyd?
First thing you should do is buy this book. On the back, it says, doesn't have a UK price.
I think it was like, I bought it. I think it was like a tenner.
Okay. $20. Or you could win one in this week's episode of the... or you could win one in this week's episode of the Business Anchors podcast. What do they need to do to win one, Dan?
I don't know because I haven't prepped this. What do they need to do? What do we want people to do, Lloyd?
So I'm just going to make it clear, guys. I didn't ask Dan to prepare that, so that's why he's not managing to say.
Oh, okay, I've got an idea.
Yeah.
We haven't asked people to do this before. Mm-hmm. Anyone who posts anywhere on social media and tags us mentioning the Business Anchors podcast, I'll note them all down, and then next week we'll pick one. Is that right?
Okay, yeah. Nice.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Let's pick two.
Two, okay, and we'll send you this book.
Yeah, one from me and one from Dan. So, read it, buy it or win it. And I guess what I'm trying to implement, because there's so much to do. Like I said, I reckon 2 or 3% we've implemented. And it says this in the book. It does take time and effort, and it's obviously a lot of change. I think biting off chunks, so each month saying, this is what we're going to implement this month. Right.
How much time?
How much time?
How much time do you need to put into this to make it work?
I genuinely, like, this isn't probably the answer people want to hear. I genuinely think quite a lot of time. Like this isn't something where you read a book and
do
just
one
go,
thing.
I'll send that message to Susan and now we're going to be working on this. This is like a whole, every process.
It's a whole operating system, isn't it?
It is actually. Every process in your business, every individual that works in your business, every point that you capture data, every time you have an appraisal with staff, every time you have a meeting, every time you start a new project, there's actions that are taken for everything.
But you do it in bite-sized chunks, like you've said, so it's less scary, like you're doing.
Exactly. So we've started to implement the people section, which is one of the 6. And we've started implementing, 20% of that.
So we've got shitloads more to do.
Yeah. But yeah, I think, and it says it in this book, and I know there's more books to read, so there's more we don't know yet that we'll do another episode on. But it's saying, right, I'm going to put, half a day a week for the next 4 weeks into implementing this stuff. And then in December, I'm going to do this. In January, I'm going to do this.
Is there anything you've read or you've tried that you don't like about it? Is there anything you've kind of disagreed with? Or are you just being an absolute sheep and just... No,
if I'm honest, what I don't like about it is, as a person, I kind of feel the need to be a maverick and not play by the rules. And I'm this cool, like creative, unstructured guy. And the reality of this is it's very structured to make sure you're being efficient and productive. So don't really like that. I've just got to accept that actually I'm not cool, so it doesn't matter. But can I tell you what I love about it?
Yeah, go on.
There's a couple of things that so that's what I don't like about it. What I love about it, I think so far, it's the fairness it creates. So if it makes it more transparent if you're doing a good job or you're not doing a good job. And therefore it doesn't allow people to be, or it dissuades people from putting pressure on their colleagues when actually they need to put more effort or improve something. I think over a period of time, it's going to create a much better working environment for everyone, because it's that fairness thing of if you're not pulling your weight, then it's not fair to those people around you, and that does need to be highlighted. And if you are, we need to be celebrating that and making sure you're rewarded and making sure we recognise that as a business. And I think that creates a more fair and kind of level playing field for everyone in a team. So I really like that.
Cool.
I also like the improvements. Well, I suppose this is a bit fluffy, but I can just already see from implementing such a small thing the improvements it's going to have on everyone's lives in the business over time. And I just think
can only be a positive thing.
That's good, right? Yeah. Yeah. That's what I love. What is there anything you like or don't like about it at the moment?
Because I've obviously read half of the book, and I've been involved in the processes that you've set out with the weekly meeting and stuff. I love how it keeps everyone accountable. And even like I'm talking to myself here, you know, like Yaz writes the notes up and the actions that we agree, and it makes me do it because I'm like, I don't want to come to that meeting and say, no, I haven't done what I said I was going to do. So it keeps me accountable to do the stuff I say I'm going to do.
I completely agree. I know there's been things over the last 3 weeks that I wouldn't have got done that I've done because I thought, well, I can't turn up and not have done my action.
Yeah.
And I know that that's been a positive thing for the business that I've made sure I do that.
I'm excited for this to roll out. You know, we've done the 3% to do the rest of it. And I think it's only going to help us improve what we're doing. And
definitely.
But yeah, I really recommend just starting by, there's another book called, I think it's called Traction, that I haven't read yet, that Luke from Sleeping Giant Media recommended, which is a more in-depth version of this. But start with this. What the heck is EOS? And
we'll keep you updated as well, because like we were saying at the beginning, being honest, we're at the very early stages of we've been introduced to this and we're implementing small parts. It may be that as we implement more, we might be more critical of it, and we might say, actually, we sort of read about this, but we didn't want to do that, and we think this is better. And so far, by the way, I have taken it with a pinch of salt as well. I've adapted it for our business rather than just gone, that's what the book says. I think it's dangerous if you get into that kind of culty thing of, the book told me to do this, so I'm going to do it.
The book told me.
Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, that's the entrepreneurial operating system, or an introduction to it. And I think we will be talking about it more in future episodes potentially.
Yeah. Hopefully this episode hasn't been too boring. I know when Lloyd mainly speaks on the podcast, they tend to perform worse. So hopefully people have stuck around to hear.
That's some depressing data.
No, I'm joking. That's not actually data. And remember, if you want to win one of the 2 books we're giving away, just do a post on social media, mention the Business Anchors podcast and what you think of it, and tag us.
Doesn't even have to be positive. You just say, I just listened to a terrible podcast, and we'll be forced to put you into the draw.
Any PR is good PR. Lloyd.
Thank you for listening, guys, and we will see you.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, we've got I think our next episode is going to be our best ever, and it's about happiness.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm just really excited to do it. So yeah, make sure you listen to next week's episode because it's going to be brilliant.
Oh, I'm excited, and I'll be listening to myself and my brother Dan Knowlton next week.
See you then.